Hi everyone, welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Friday. It's October 20th, 2023, and this is episode 269. I'm Carol, also known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I live east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. I hope you're all doing well, that you've had a good couple of weeks since we last spoke. I've had a fantastic couple of weeks, and I have so many things to share with you today. It's the full meal deal. I have finished projects, works in progress, including some new cast-ons, some acquisitions, and even some footage of some beautiful British Columbian coastal scenery. So I'll put that in at the end, but yeah, settle in. I think it's going to be a long one. Before I get to the knitting, just a reminder that there are a couple of make-alongs taking place in the Ravelry group. The first is a year-long chatter thread called Another Year of Stash, and then there's also a monthly make-along called the Yarn of the Month Club. Check out the first post of each of the pertinent threads, and I hope you will join us. I'd love to see you there. Okay, full disclosure, I have attempted to record this episode today numerous times. I really wanted to get it done earlier this afternoon so that I would be able to edit it and upload it before my husband got home from work tonight. And then I had a phone call that took quite a while, and I don't think that's going to happen. So you won't probably see this until Saturday. Doesn't really impact you. It's just I'm already kind of a day late, so I was hoping to get it out today. I usually like to record on Thursdays, but yesterday our younger granddaughter had early dismissal, and so I picked her up from school late morning and had her here for a few hours. So with the day broken up like that, it wasn't really conducive to recording. So here we are. We're just going to do the best we can. At least the light is better now. I was worried about it earlier. Not only is it kind of overcast today, but it was earlier in the day than I normally record in this room. But we've actually even got a little bit of sunshine that's trying to poke through now. So maybe it's going to turn out for the best in the end. Okay, before I show you this week's knitting, here's a blast from the past. This is the Yellow Brick Rodeo by Mary Annarella of Lyrical Knits. I knit this last year. Out of the lighter yarn is some Flock Fiber Studio Take a Hike sock. And it had something to do, I think Frozen Dawn or something like that was the colorway. And then the main color is Fiber Spates Vivacious 4-ply. I don't remember the colorway, but the details are on my Ravelry project page, which will be linked below, as will everything else I talk about. I also have links to the blog and the Ravelry group, where I also post full episodes and show notes. I'm just going to stand up for a minute so you can see the sweater. Yeah, just a very basic top-down circular yoke sweater. This is, of course, the highlight, and then just plain knitting after that. I'm also wearing some socks today, 2 hand knits. If you've been watching sock season, you will be familiar with the Cirrus socks from week 2. That was part of the Handmade Sock Society Collection 2 by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. I've had some people asking me if I'm actually wearing the socks that I'm showing you in sock season each week, and the answer is yes, and I'm enjoying it very much. The only thing is I'm a few days behind because we had several days when it was too warm to wear socks, and so yeah, I just kind of have to, well, I don't know if I'll ever catch up, but I had sort of planned to wear 7 different pairs each week. Some of them have been, moved along into this week, but that's okay. I am enjoying it very much. All right, speaking of socks, my first finished project this week is a pair of socks. It's what I've been calling socks by candlelight. The yarn is from Sweet Fiber. It's a super sweet sock in the Candlelight Glow colorway. And then I did coordinating German short row heels with some leftover yarn from the Woolen Rabbit. It's the Harmony sock base in the Tupelo Honey colorway. My usual vanilla socks, top down 2x2 rib, rounded toe. So I'll just bring these in a little bit closer so you can see the yarn. I really like how this yarn kind of micro striped as it knit up. And then look at this beautiful yarn in the heel. I meant to look to see if the Woolen Rabbit is still dyeing. There was a time when I bought quite a bit of their yarn, but I haven't looked for it lately. But I believe it's a woman that does the dyeing. I used to know her name, but I can't remember now. Anyway, just does a lovely job with these gorgeous tonal colorways. So anyway, these socks were part of my personal sock yarn club this year. At the beginning of the year, I just got my husband, well, I had chosen 12 skeins of yarn. I got my husband to put them into brown paper bags and number them 1 through 12. And as I knit up one, I grab another bag. I actually have at least, I can't remember. I've lost track of what number this was. I had hoped to do one a month, but I fell behind. So I know I have at least one other pair that is still on the go. It's a patterned pair of socks. And I've got some other socks on the go. So I'm not sure when I'm going to be opening up the next bag, but you'll be the first to know. Anyway, yes, glad to be finished those. This was not supposed to feel like a obligation knit. I mostly did this personal sock yarn club again as a way of taking the humming and hawing over deciding which pair of socks to knit next. Quite often when I finish one pair of vanilla socks, I will cast on another, and sometimes just the thought process of which yarn I'm going to cast on, it just takes way too much effort. So that's kind of why I did that again this year, and I think in my mind I thought I would do one a month, but it just hasn't worked out that way. But that's okay, because this is the year I'm supposed to stop shooting on myself, which segues into a make-along that's taking place in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Ravelry group. And the whole idea is to knit what you want and not to feel so encumbered by obligation. And while it's been very good for me in some ways, in other ways, it's led me astray. I'll show you something about that a little bit later in the episode. But I mean, honestly, I'm mostly joking about that. It's my knitting. I can do what I want with it. And the things that I really want to get done, it's just up to me to do them. Okay, I have another finished project, but this one is a spoiler. So spoiler alert for anyone who has been taking part in the Secret Forest Shawl Make Along by Paper Daisy Creations. That's Lisa K. Ross. I'm going to show the completed shawl now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I will have do the chapters on the video so you can skip ahead, and also put the spoiler times in the show notes down below, so that you, if you don't want to be spoiled, you won't be spoiled. So look away, here it comes. And man, is it gorgeous, I have to say. So I knit this shawl out of Sweet Georgia Yarns Tough Love sock. I bought 2 skeins of Cauldron, which is black, and then I also purchased their skeins that were collection. Sorry, I just was distracted because I just caught this thing on my watch strap. I was trying to undo it without causing too much damage. Anyway, I purchased the set that was curated for this make-along called Midnight Walk, which has 7 different colors in it. So, before I show it to you here, after I had finished blocking it, I recorded a video that shows it in great detail. And so I'm going to put that in here now, and then I will come back and show it to you in my hot little hands. So see you in a minute. I just finished blocking my Secret Forest Mystery Knit Along, and I am so excited to show it to you. I have it laid out here in my living room and kitchen, which is the only place large enough to accommodate it. As you can see, it's very long and can hardly fit in the screen. It measures 100 inches from tip to tip, which is about 18 inches longer than the schematic indicates. So I'm not sure what happened there. It is 22¼ inches wide, which is only about 3/4 of an inch wider than it's supposed to be. I do suspect that it will shrink up a little bit once it's dry and comes off the blocking mats, but certainly not 18 inches worth. Now obviously I didn't swatch, but I did go down 1/4 millimeter in needle size. I often will go down 1/2 millimeter for the patterns I knit because I am a loose knitter, so perhaps I should have done that this time too. But I had plenty of yarn, and so, you know, no worries, everything all worked out. It was quite the process to block this shawl, and it took me several hours. I wanted to make the different sections as straight as I could and also have both halves be the same length. I used yardsticks and quilting rulers and lots of pins, and I'm quite happy with it in the end. So let me take you closer and let me show you all of those beautiful stitch patterns now that they've opened up with blocking. So let's start at the very beginning. Here it's a very good place to start. This is clue 1. The stripe at the beginning is entering the forest, and then we have dewdrops and twigs. Let's see if I can catch those textures in the light. Clue 2 was fallen leaves and tree trunks. And again, it is difficult being black. And finally, clue 3 was woven branches and little acorns. So that was the first side of the shawl. Now I'm going to go down to the opposite end. With clue 4, we had new surprises with this garter and crisscross lace. Then we moved on to woodland flowers and blossoming trees. Clue 5 brought us honeybees and little frogs. I wish that it had worked out that the honeybees had been knit in this gold color, but I did follow the color order that was pictured in the kit when I bought it. And finally, clue 6, we had raindrops and snowdrops. And again, it would have been fun to have the raindrops in blue and then maybe the frogs in green, but it didn't work that way. So with clues 4, 5, and 6, we joined each stripe along this diagonal line that was the end of clue 3. and then finished up there with this triangle in the middle. So I will now bring out my camera a little bit so you can see it as more of a whole. Just clues 1 to 3. And then clues 4 through 6. And show it to you from left to right. I am absolutely thrilled with how this turned out, and it was such a pleasure to knit. So there you have it. I can hardly get it in. I can't back up far enough. I'm hitting the side of the cupboard in order to show you the whole thing. Let's see, can I do it? There I go, just barely. Well, that'll be nice and snuggly and warm to wear this winter. And now here it is off the blocking mats in all its glory. Well, actually, I guess not in all its glory. As you will have seen, this thing is ginormous, and there's no way I can show it to you all in one shot. So I'm not even gonna try. I love how the blocking just opened the lace patterns up and gave it just so much drape. Now, as I mentioned, I had bought the Midnight Walk set of colors, but these different colorways are all available individually from Sweet Georgia. So this is Twilight, Black Raspberry, Cassis, Sangria, Boreal Forest, Winter Haven, and Stormy Sky. If I had anything bad to say about this shawl, it would be this one minor thing. Because of the number of stitches it took to do the honeybee stitch pattern, this section did have to be done in stockinette. That's a very, very minor thing that in the whole scheme of things doesn't make or break the design. Now, because this is so huge, there is just no way that I can wear this, you know, as a real shawl or wear it outside the house, you know, as a scarf or anything. But when I wrap this around my shoulders like this, I can lay the different ends down over my lap, and they just about reach my ankles. So this is going to be just perfect for sitting on the couch knitting or watching TV or doing both at the same time. I'll have my arms free, but I will be covered up from head to toe with a nice cozy shawl. This is truly a schlanket, and I am really looking forward to using that this winter. I just love how this turned out. So if you've never knit a Lisa K. Ross or Paper Daisy Creations pattern, I can highly recommend them. And I've now taken part in 3 make-alongs, 3 mystery make-alongs, and they've just been fantastic. So I do not hesitate to recommend this designer or her make-alongs. All right, that's the end of the Secret Forest MKAL, and that's the end of the spoilers. You know, sometimes when I sit down to record, everything just flows so effortlessly, and I can get it all done in one take. this is not one of those times. It is now over 3 hours since I first sat down to record, and I am just struggling mightily. In addition to a couple of interruptions for phone calls that I needed to take, I am just struggling to come up with words today and having a very difficult time putting together coherent sentences. But I'm just gonna try and muddle through, and hopefully everything comes together in the editing. It's now well after 3 o'clock, and I'm only just now getting to works in progress. And now I have a low battery, so I'm gonna have to plug in the phone. This is not what I envisioned when I got up this morning, but let's see how it goes. On the bright side, that last break allowed me to clean up a little bit and go make myself a new cup of tea. And I want to show you this gorgeous new cup that I got this week. Hopefully this reflection is not obscuring that beautiful mountainscape. Now, the last thing I needed was another cup, but I just could not resist because this just reminds me so much of where I live. Last Christmas, I received a gift certificate to David's Tea from our daughter's family. And since we don't have a local store anymore, they closed a lot of their brick and mortar shops during COVID. I've just been hanging on to it. And last week I saw that they had a sale on their tea inventory. So I thought it would be a good time to order some. And when I went on their website, I saw this and I just knew I had to have it. And then as it turned out, some of the teas I wanted, they didn't have in stock anyway. So it just worked out perfectly. So yeah, that's just a wonderful Christmas gift from my daughter's family. And I love it. All right, works in progress. Let's see if we can get through this, shall we? First up is a pair of socks that I am knitting from this yarn here. It's from Ancient Arts. Whoops. Just about lost that. Ancient Arts is the sock NATO base, which is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon, and this colorway is called the Bee's Knees. So attached to the skein is a set of needles with a cast on and one row done. And this is sock number 2. I finished sock number 1 of the Mermaid Shell Socks by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. This is the 5th sock in the Handmade Sock Society collection. They say the latest. This is the 5th sock from the latest Handmade Sock Society collection by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. I feel like I've said some of those things twice. Doesn't matter, I'm just moving on. This is the medium size and features a 1x1 twisted rib and this very lovely shell lace detail on the front, which I will turn my sock blocker around so you can see. And I think this yarn shows off the twisted stitches really well. And I like that the yarn, even though it's speckled, doesn't obscure the pattern. I think it's a really good combination. And then it has these twisted rib stitches, this ribbing that runs all the way down the foot. And a traditional heel flap and gusset, rounded toe. So yeah, happy with how sock number 1's turned out. Looking forward to getting on to sock number 2. And then being able to move on to the last pattern in this collection, which I showed you last week. I still haven't even chosen my yarn. I'll think about that when these are closer to being done. My next work in progress is also a pair of socks. This pair you have not seen. I am knitting this pair from my October Yarn of the Month Club yarn, which I did show you last episode. It is from Riverside Studio, which is in Quebec, Canada. And the camera is not doing it justice. I just adore this yarn. It has such a glow to it. It's a merino cashmere nylon blend, and this is the cobalt and rust colorway. And in real life, it just has a glow to it. That's just, the camera is not picking up. So when I spoke to you last, I wasn't sure what this was going to become, but when I wound it up, it reminded me of a night sky with stars. And then I knew exactly which pattern I wanted to knit. A few years ago, I made a pair of socks by Melissa Morgan Oakes called the Moon and Stars socks. And I know I said that I don't wear a lot of patterned socks, but that particular pair I have worn frequently. And so I decided to make another. Here's sock number 1. So I'm halfway done. Very glad about that because we're more than halfway through October and I kind of started these late. Again, I don't know that the lighting is going to show off the stitch pattern as well as it should. It has a 2x2 rib. I think the pattern does a 1x1 or 1x1 twisted rib, but I changed it. And features a lace pattern that the stitches kind of meander back and forth. It does have a traditional heel flap and gusset. I tried doing that, but with this yarn I didn't like the way it was pooling, and so I took yarn from the other end of the ball and I did a German short row heel instead, and that way I could keep this sort of micro striping going through the whole sock. So I'm very pleased with that decision. I'm going to bring it in a little bit closer here. Hopefully that'll give you, oh yeah, there you go. You can see how these stitches, they kind of just meander. It's a simple, quite intuitive pattern, and they've been a real joy to knit. So very happy with how those are working up. So I did yesterday cast on the second sock, and I did the ribbing. All these ends hanging here. I did the ribbing, and I did, it's a 16 row repeat, so I did the first 8 rows. And what I'm doing is I'm actually starting with row 9 of the chart, and that way they will be mirror images of each other instead of identical, which honestly you would probably never even notice when I'm wearing, but why not? It's easy to do. So loving this pair very much. I'm so thrilled to finally find a use for that yarn, because I've owned it for a number of years and just never was quite sure what to do with it. So I have another new pair of socks that I cast on. Cast these on last Thursday night, knowing that I needed a pair of plain stockinette socks to work on while we were away last weekend. I knew I would have a lot of travel time, a lot of car time and travel time. And so kind of realized my brother-in-law's birthday is coming up near the end of November, and I usually, I always give him a pair of socks for his birthday. If they come out for Christmas, sometimes I wait and give them to him then when we celebrate winter birthdays. But when they're not going to be here for Christmas, I try and mail them in time for his birthday. So I thought, well, I better get cracking. And so I ended up pulling out this skein of Regia Perfect. Hopefully you can see how they're going to work up. It is color 7120, which is stone. And I got a ton done on these over the weekend. Just as we were getting home, I had just about finished the second heel. And I have done some work since then, so let me show you. I just dropped them. So on this sock, I have completed the gusset stitches. So you can see I did a traditional heel flap and gusset, and I am now into the last bit of patterning on the sock. What I thought this would be a great one to take traveling, because I wouldn't have to be measuring for the ribbing. I would just, you know, if you've never worked with the Perfect yarns, it's one skein of yarn that's divided by a strip of yellow yarn, bright yellow. And so at the you kind of get through the yellow yarn, and then you cast on, and each half of the skein is identical. So you knit all the solid yarn till you get to the leg, and then you work through, and then there's a break. In this particular one, there are different designs for them, but in this particular design, there's a break between this pattern, these stripes, and these stripes, where you put your heel in. So it worked out just perfectly that where this stripe ended was at 7 inches, which is where I like to put the heels in for my socks. And so that was just perfect. Could not have planned it better. And then traditional heel flap gusset. And then once this stripe is done, it'll just be like this again to the toe. So anyway, I got that one all through the gusset. And this one I have been working on the gusset. So happy to have that much progress on these socks, because now I know I won't have any trouble finishing them and getting them out in time for his birthday. Did I mention he lives in Toronto? I think I did. If not, that's where he is. So yeah, this was great for all the time we spent in the car and on the ferry. Got tons done. And my final work in progress is a little bit of a naughty cast on, because really I had no business casting on another sweater, but that's what I did. So while we were away, we were in Victoria on Vancouver Island visiting family. While we were there, we went to one of my favorite yarn shops, Beehive Wool Shop. And of course I bought some yarn. I'll show you what else I got after, but I saw this coffee break sweater hanging up as a sample. It's by Jose Paquin, and it was released a few years ago. They had theirs knit up in, I think, navy and light gray, or navy and, I think it was light gray. And it just looked like such a comfortable, practical, casual sweater that I really wanted to make it. So I chose against the yarn that theirs was knit in. I wanted something a little bit more affordable. And I came across this yarn from Berroco, which I had never seen before. It's called Lanas Light, and they do have it, as the name suggests, in a heavier weight. It says it's a special blend of South American wools. It's 100% wool. I do not believe it is superwash. And I think Ravelry lists this as a fingering weight, but I think Berroco lists it as a sport, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it's that Ravelry lists it as a sport. In any case, the stitches are like 22 to 24 stitches per inch. So that's like a DK sport. And the pattern calls for 24 stitches over 4 inches. So I was able to swatch and get that gauge with a needle, I think a 1/2 millimeter smaller than the pattern called for. Anyway, I chose this reddish or like a warm red. I don't know if you can see, it's all kind of heathery. The yarn is very similar, I would say, in feel to Knit Picks, what's it called? Their thing, like their colorwork yarn palette, Knit Picks palette. It's sort of like that. It has the heathered look to it, and I think it's a 2-ply. But it seems soft enough for me for next to skin. I have to be careful about that. Anyway, I chose this color, which is called Cayenne. It's color number 78126. And then I also got this skein. This is the whitest white that they have. It's still a bit creamy. This is color 7800, and it's called Snow Day. So that's what I have together. This is my main color. That's my contrast. And I've done, I'm just gonna stick this back in my bag. I've got a bag here off screen. I've got this far. It's a top-down raglan. And I'm working on my second white stripe. So as you can see from the pattern, the yoke and sleeves are done with wide stripes, and then you change to narrow stripes. So I thought that was kind of a neat design feature. Sorry, my pattern printing is not as good as it could be. I need to replace some ink. But yeah, I'm liking how it's turning out so far. So it's definitely a warmer red, but I don't feel like it's so warm that it doesn't look okay on me. Usually a cooler color is better on me, but I think it'll be all right. And I just wanted something, it just struck me as very fall-like, which is why I cast it on right away. Even though I have other sweaters I already have cast on, and other sweaters I want to work on. But this sweater, the advantage of this is, other than right now increasing for, you know, the lines where your sleeves are, and keeping track for the stripes, it's all plain stockinette, which means I don't have to think a lot, where my other sweaters are just not that kind of knitting. So I'm really happy to have a sweater that's sort of more simple as far as the knitting goes. Sort of like a pair of plain socks, only better. So that's it for my works in progress. While I was at Beehive, I also picked up a skein that's going to be a gift, which I will not show you, but I found the newest Christmas color for West Yorkshire spinners. So this is called Nutcracker, and you can see all the primary colors, and this has sparkle in it. I think it's gold sparkle actually. And the colorway is 1166. So I wasn't even aware, I hadn't even thought about there being a new Christmas color, but when I spotted it, it's like, yep, that's coming home with me. I do own all of them. I've knit about half of them, so I would like to get another of these skeins cast on before Christmas, whether it'll be this one or one of the other ones I haven't knit up yet, I don't know, but that's what I got there. And then when I got home, there was a package in my mailbox from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. So I had won a prize from the Stop Shooting on Yourself Make Along, which was a Serendipitous stripe sock yarn. I'm just going to open, crinkle, crinkle, crinkle. And I also knew that I would be receiving the next shipment. Sorry, I'm going to stop talking while I'm crinkling here. should have taken it out beforehand. I also knew that I was going to be getting the next shipment for the, never know how to say that word, Lepidoptera Yarn and Fiber Club. So I just told Lisa to hang on and just ship them together. So here's my prize yarn. So this is Serendipitous Stripes number 51. It's a 6-stripe colorway, and this is the Mountain Tweed BFL base. So you can see it's got gold and orange and kind of like a bluey gray, yellow, reddish. Yeah, it's pretty. Very fall-like too. So thank you again, Lisa. It's lovely. This was a surprise. I didn't know what it was going to look like. And then here's my club yarn. This, look at that. This shipment was based on the Luna Moth. So this is the Traveler base, which is an 80-20 superwash merino nylon. It's a sport weight base. So this is Luna Moth, the main color, and then this is, let's see, Outline Brown and Eye Spot Gold. We don't have Luna Moths here, but Lisa has them where she lives, and she's been lucky enough to see several, including this one that she got a picture of. So look how cool. They're huge, right? What a neat thing to see. So this will probably become one of my personal stock yarn club skeins for next year. But I can't wait to knit that up. I just love these greens. So very, very lovely. And then I also asked her if I could also have, at the same time, if I bought a skein of plain vanilla bounce, if she could ship that too. I've just been nervous about running out for the borders for my, what am I even calling that thing? I don't remember. I named my own blanket and I don't remember. I'm using the Advent skeins from last year from Fiber Nymph Dye Works and other leftover self-striping colorways to do a mitered square blanket. And I'm using Bounce plain vanilla for the borders. Anyway, I was worried about running out, so now I have plenty. So yeah, that's it for those acquisitions. At least when I wrote this, the show notes a couple of days ago. But since then, I've received more yarn in the mail. So Sweet Georgia Yarns had their October sock yarn sale when all their fingering weight yarns were I think 30 or 35% off, and I couldn't resist that. I love Sweet Georgia Yarns. So I got 2 sweater quantities. More crinkling. I'll just lift these out a little bit. This is the Tough Love sock in the Strawberry Tea colorway. And I want to do kind of a lacy sweater out of this. I did own this colorway before. I had made a pair of socks from it. Those colors are just so me. And then the other one, I have to say, I'm not sure if disappointed is quite the right word. Hang on a sec, I need to grab something. I was just about to show you my mystery shawl, and then I remembered I couldn't because it would potentially spoil it. So I had to go grab the yarn from it. So this is the Stormy Sky colorway. That was my color 7 from my mystery shawl. And as I was knitting the shawl, I thought, oh, it'd be gorgeous to have a sweater out of this yarn. And so I ordered a sweater's quantity of it, but it turned out quite different than the skein that I had received. with my mystery shawl kit. So I'm not sure in this light if you can see, it's like blue with purple in there. And it's quite a deep blue. This, on the other hand, is quite a bit lighter. And even though it's purple in here, it almost has a brown tone to it. So the yarn is quite a bit different than this. If you look on the website, the skein that's illustrated or photographed does look more like this, but you know, I'd seen one in real life, so I still think it's beautiful. I still like the color. I still think it will look nice on me. It's just different than I had anticipated. And you know, that's one of those things when you order yarn online, you do take a chance. Of course, what I had received, you know, I thought I knew what I was getting. So I just look at it like it's still beautiful and I will still knit with it. It just wasn't what I was expecting. I've sort of contemplated whether or not I should reach out to Sweet Georgia, but you know what? I'm just going to let it go. It was a good price. It is beautiful yarn. It will make a lovely sweater. First world problem. So that's how I look at it. All right, I need a sip of tea. Okay, it's time for life stuff. Lots has happened in the last couple of weeks. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before that was Thanksgiving. The Monday's the statutory holiday, but we had a family dinner on Sunday with all our family, plus our daughter-in-law's parents, and then our son's girlfriend's mom. And cooked turkey and a salmon and had just a lovely, lovely time. And then the best part is we had then Monday to relax after it was all over. So yeah, very nice Thanksgiving weekend. And then this past weekend, as I mentioned, we went over to Vancouver Island for a family event. So Cameron took Friday and Monday off, so we had 4 days. And it was our sister-in-law's 70th birthday. And unbeknownst to her, 2 of her 3 sons and I guess 5 of her 7 grandchildren were coming to spend the weekend. So I guess on Friday morning, my brother-in-law, you know, went out on an errand and came back with her older son and his 3 kids. And then later that afternoon, her son went out for, you know, an undisclosed errand and came back with the younger son with his 2 girls. So she was, you know, totally blown away by that. And then a little later that afternoon, we arrived at their doorstep. And so she was just so blown away by it. She was crying and just, she was totally surprised by all of it. And then the next day, it was revealed to her ahead of time that there were going to be some people, friends and other family coming for a little party in the afternoon. So we had a very nice visit with them, both Friday night and then again on Saturday. Before we went there on Saturday, we went to see Cameron's mom, and she was just doing so much better than the last time we saw her. Much more engaged and talkative, and looked really good. Got a great picture of her with Cameron, and so she's doing great. When we saw her a couple of months ago, she just seemed to be what I called winding down, but I guess she's winding back up a little bit, which is great to see. She's 98 and a half now, so it's just amazing. She just keeps going. And then Sunday, we took a drive up the southwest coast of the island to Port Renfrew, and that's where Cameron's older sister, she's the oldest in the family, plus she's the oldest of his two sisters. She used to live there, and she passed away back in 2004, and we planted a tree in the park with a plaque and buried some of her ashes there. So periodically we'll drive up to Renfrew and say hello to her. So we did that on Sunday, and we also, there's a beautiful provincial park with a loop trail that it's called Botanical Beach. So you go through the forest, then along several areas you can go down to the beach and then back up to like the parking lot. And it was perfect because it was supposed to rain, but we had a great drive up, and then it only started to just rain a little bit as we were finishing our walk. And then we went and had lunch at the hotel there, and when we came out it was raining quite a bit. We had rain off and on all the way back to Victoria. We had thought that we would go back to my brother-in-law's place that evening, but when we got back to the hotel, it was just raining hard, and we were like, let's just stay put. And they had a pub restaurant connected to our hotel, so we decided just to stay there and have dinner, which was great. On our way up to Port Renfrew, there's a place called Jordan River, and it gets really big waves, and people do like paddleboarding and surfing there. And when we drove by, there were just a gazillion people in the water, and so I did get a little bit of footage of that too. So I did put together a little montage of that and our walk. So if you like to watch the waves roll in as much as I do, you will enjoy it, as well as some forest scenes. So I will put that right at the end. After Thanksgiving, I got Cameron to leave the extra table set up in the kitchen so that I could work on a jigsaw puzzle. This summer I borrowed a couple from our daughter, and I just never got around to doing them. So for the past couple weeks I've been working on this one. Both puzzles are from the same series, The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. So you can see this one's autumn. I also borrowed summer, and she does have the other two seasons also. So when I finish these up, I'll probably borrow those too. I like doing this kind of puzzle because rather than it being one big picture, you've got lots of little pictures scattered around, different nature scenes. A little squirrel there, some birds, different plants, some mushrooms. So this has been quite enjoyable to work on, and a nice change from knitting or reading or other things that I do with my time. Sometimes I'll just sit down, work on it for a few minutes while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil or the tea to steep or something like that. Other times I get quite engrossed, and before I know it, an hour has passed. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'd say I'm over 3/4 of the way finished now. So yeah, been enjoying that. Before I get to something good, just a word about my recording schedule going forward. So I've been giving it a lot of thought, and I've decided that for the foreseeable future, I am going to record regular episodes bi-weekly rather than weekly. Honestly, feels like this year they've been bi-weekly more often than weekly anyway. And this way, not only will it give me more time to work on things and therefore have more progress to show you each episode, it also takes a bit of the pressure off. This fall, winter, I am curling one morning a week. So that's sort of an extra thing on my schedule that I had not been anticipating. And just other life things. I'm just finding I don't have as much time, not only to craft as I used to, but also to record. Having said that, I've had a really good reception to my sock season episodes, and I'd like to continue that going forward. So those types of episodes I can record when I just have a little window of time, anytime that it works for me. And so I'll continue to do what I've been doing and record some ahead of time and have them edited and ready to go up. Honestly, because even though they're so short, they take a lot more editing because there's lots more little pieces to put together and have to arrange. But they are fun, and you guys seem to like them. So what it should look like is, as long as life cooperates, is a sock season video going up hopefully every Sunday throughout the winter, and then a regular episode every couple of weeks. And I think that'll just make things a lot more workable on my end. All right, something good. I only had one thing written down, but before I tell you about that one, I'm just gonna mention that our younger son is going through some exciting times right now. He has recently changed jobs, begins a new position the last Monday of this month. He has just sold his condo and has to be out by the end of this month. And he and his girlfriend are looking to buy a new condo together in the next city closer to Vancouver, because she works another city closer to Vancouver, and Colin works from home. So they are in the process of looking. They've put an offer on a place and are just waiting to hear back. So fingers crossed for them. He was saying the other day, I think he's feeling a little overwhelmed. He said, I had 3 things I wanted: to get a new job, to sell my place, and to buy a new place. But they're all happening at the same time. So good for him, though. It's exciting times, even if it's stressful. Tomorrow night, we're going over to his place for a house cooling party. So the last get together at his place before he moves. So that should be fun. All right, my other something good. So on Monday, when we were coming home, I was wearing my dorsal socks, which is, you watched sock season last week, sock season number 2. These are from the Second Handmade Sock Society collection, and they feature these whale flukes on the back. And what I told you was that this yarn's colorway was called Bight, B-I-G-H-T. And there's a place in British Columbia called Robson Bight where the orcas come up to the beach and rub themselves on the pebbles. And so they just happened to match the top that I was wearing home on Monday. So even though they were out of order, I wore these home on Monday. And we were partway through the ferry trip home. We are coming up to a place called Active Pass, which is where the ferry goes through a narrow channel through some islands. And I thought I should make sure I have my phone out in case we see any whales, any orcas. In all these years I've been going back and forth, which is like almost 40 years. I've only ever seen them twice. But something made me pull out my phone, and Cameron had just gone to get us some tea. So when he came back, I said to him, I've just pulled out my phone just in case we see an orca or see orcas. And literally right there, we saw an orca come up out of the water, go down, saw its tail, and then it disappeared. We had some tourists around us that were speaking very excitedly in a different language. But even though I grabbed my phone out and scanned the water, never caught another glimpse of them. Often they travel in pods. Usually if there's one, there's more. And maybe there were more on the other side of the ferry, but we only ever just saw the one just surface and go down. So I thought, lucky socks maybe? Anyway, it was a great end to what had been just a great weekend away. And on that happy note, we've come to the end of the episode. If you've stuck with me through it, thank you so much. It'll definitely not be coming out Friday night, but look for it sometime on Saturday, which I'm telling you now, by the time you see it, it will be Saturday. I'm talking to you, I always feel like I'm talking to you in real time, you know? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you as always for all of your kind comments and private messages and participation in the make-alongs. I just really appreciate the engagement. Have yourselves a fabulous couple of weeks. I will see you in a couple of weeks for a regular episode, but in the meantime, watch for those weekly sock season shorter episodes, and I hope you enjoy them. Thanks for watching. See you soon.